welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast, hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast, or simply have an interest in sport, you have come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and as always, plenty of entertainment. It's been a busy 2 weeks since our last episode, with Triathlon taking place in Ireland across the June bank holiday weekend. I hosted the 2-day Sport Ireland National Development Officer Conference in Dublin last week, and this past weekend we kick-started the Ironman UK racing season with Ironman 70.3 Staffordshire on Sunday. It was great to see so many familiar faces over the past couple of weeks. Congratulations to everyone who raced in Athy and Staffordshire. Whether it was your first race or you were stepping up in distance to go longer than before, I hope you had fun and enjoyed the experience. There was great excitement when we did the World Championship slot allocation at Staffordshire. I can't wait to see all the athletes who accepted their slots race in Utah in October. It's going to be epic. Sadly, on Sunday at Ironman 70.3 Staffordshire, an athlete passed away during the race. So behind all the excitement of the event, there really was a big sense of loss and sadness at the tragic loss of life. My thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends of the athlete. Looking to this weekend, I'm off to Mondello, and for the first time since picking up a microphone at a race, I will be both announcing and racing at an event. So I'm excited and nervous about what lies ahead. I am looking forward to racing with the Cycling Ireland Women's Commission 8-person team. We had lots of fun on the track last Thursday night when we met up for a training session. The girls are very strong and gunning for a great time on the track. I hope I'll be able to keep up. My race preparation hasn't been ideal with all the travel the past few weeks and then catching the COVID, but fingers crossed I'll be fighting fit for the weekend. I'm cramming on the bike this week, getting a few miles in the legs before the big weekend. Well, not really, just enjoying getting out and about again and having some fun on the bike. Karen Cassidy, queen of the track, will be aiming to retain her title and reach the 600k milestone within the 24 hours. You can listen to her recount her adventure from last year on episode 67 of the podcast. Be sure to keep an eye on the socials at Mondello24 and the Women's Cycling Ireland Facebook page from Saturday at 12pm to see how we all get on. I'll be taking over the Mondello socials for the 24-hour event. This is a busy week for cycling. The Ross kicks off today. Best of luck to everyone taking part. I'll be glued to the coverage over the next few days. The Western Challenge also takes place this weekend in Galway, and Race Across America and Race Across West also kicked off yesterday. Joe Barr takes on Race Across West, whilst Graham Mackin and Team Aspect take on RAM, the toughest ultra cycling event in the world. And speaking of toughness, lifelong friends Damien Brown and Fergus Farrell pushed off from New York earlier this week in their quest to row from New York to Galway, a 3,000-mile row across the Atlantic Ocean. Wow, it's going to be a busy few days of dot watching. Special shout out to our very own Emma Porter, who raced at the Wish 1 gravel race in Millau, France, taking third place in the gruelling 130k gravel race recently, securing her slot for the UCI Gravel World Championships. Go Emma! You can read her race report on our website. I was delighted to chat with Mike Riley on his Find Your Finish Line podcast recently. The episode was released last week. You can check out the details and tune in on www.trytalkingsport.com. It was lots of fun being on the other side of the microphone for a change, and we had great crack. For those of you who may be taking on your first Ironman or Ironman 70.3 in the UK or Ireland this year, be sure to check out the webinar I hosted with the team from Ironman UK and Ireland last week. You can check it out on our website, and also be sure to check out the Help I'm Racing an Ironman article on our site. In this first article, I share some top tips to help take the stress out of both packing and racking those red, white and blue bags. As always, big shout out to our partners Nuasan. I've been using the CBD muscle gel quite a bit over the past couple of weeks, not because I'm working hard on the bike, but because I find it helps my legs reset after a long day on my feet announcing. Be sure to check out the products on www.nuasan.com and use the code TTS15 to get a 15% discount on their product range. So now to this week's episode. Katie O'Brien from Galway is a para rower with her eyes and heart set on a gold medal at the Paralympics in Paris in 2024. Born with a severe case of spina bifida which affected her left leg and parts of the left side of her body, she has excelled in rowing in recent years after picking up the sport in her mid-teens. Rowing for years in a single boat, she was on the lookout for a male partner to join her on her Paralympic journey so that she could try to qualify to represent her home of Clarinbridge, her club and her county in Galway, and of course her country on the highest stage possible in sport. Her journey has ebbed and flowed along the way, but Katie has powered through each obstacle, winning multiple medals and accolades. Katie represents Ireland in the PR W1X category and is a member of Galway Rowing Club. She previously rowed for UCD while studying to become a vet, her second passion in life, rowing being her first. She took up rowing in 2013. After successfully rowing for a number of years, she took a break during her college years and upon her return has once again begun to excel in the sport. She won a bronze medal at the 2019 World Rowing Championships in Linz. Prior to that, she finished 6th in the A final in the World Rowing Cup in 2013 in Eton. She has also won gold at the Henley Women's Regatta and at the Home International Regatta, and has also set 2 world records on the erg. The first in 2015 over 1 kilometre, the second over 2k in 2021. Katie's positive attitude and passion for success sees no stone unturned in the pursuit of her goals in sport and in life. Her determination is fierce and her focus is fixed. There is no stopping her. She is a star on the rise and this Galway girl is going all in on her pursuit of a gold medal at Paris 2024. Now, grab a cuppa and enjoy the show. Katie O'Brien from Galway, thank you so much for taking time out from your hectic training schedule to join me for a chat on the podcast today. How are you?
I'm very good, Joanne, and thank you very much for having me.
You've actually been on my hit list for quite a while because I've been reading stories about Katie O'Brien, this amazing rower who has had so much success on the water and indeed off the water in recent years. But we connected recently at a summer lunch for BPW where you, along with the CEO of Rowing Ireland, were the guest speakers. So I thought it was a bit like fate was bringing us together so that we could arrange to have a chat. But we go way back, Katie, and we'll get into that as we talk about your career in sport. But what are you at the moment? Because you are in Cork and you're training like a devil.
I am. So at the moment, I'm down in Cork. And we recently relocated down here to start training full time with the rest of the squad. So our upcoming race is the World Cup 2, and it's over in Poland in Poznan. So at the moment, we're kind of just building up momentum for that. I'll be racing the double and the single actually at it. So really looking forward to that. It'll be my first time racing the single in over 3 years, and the double is just picking up momentum all the time. So really looking forward to seeing where we are at with that as well.
Now, Katie, you throw the words double and single around there like you're talking about a bar of chocolate. What does double and single mean in the rowing world? And what does that actually mean in terms of what you are doing at the moment?
There's 2 types of rowing, basically. You have sweep rowing and you have sculling. So sweep rowing, you use 1 oar, and then with sculling, you use 2. So I either go in a double or a single. So for most of my rowing career, I've been in the single. And racing myself, but the single isn't an event at the Paralympics, and that's kind of always really been my goal, my long-term goal. That's why I'm doing kind of both at the moment. So the double is kind of the aim, the big aim really, to try and qualify it for Paris 2024, and then the single I'm just racing at the moment because I suppose I'll be doing a lot of training in that anyway, so I'm just kind of racing that and seeing how we get on over in Poland there too.
And Katie, you're a para rower, so what does that actually mean? And
so I'm a para rower because I've spina bifida. So my spina bifida affects my left leg. So I kind of have a gamial left leg. But I'd be fairly lucky in terms of things because majority of people with spina bifida will be in a wheelchair. So in terms of that, I'm actually quite lucky. But so that qualifies me for being a para rower. And then para rowing is kind of divided up into 3 categories. The first one is arms only. So there's para rowing 1, para rowing 2, and para rowing 3. Para rowing 1, you only use your arms. Para rowing 2, which is me, you use your arms and your body. And then para rowing 3 is you basically are normal, able-bodied rowing. You could just be missing a toe, or you might be blind or something like that.
You say it so casually, talking so freely and openly about your disability. And actually, that's where we met first, was actually in my former life and former career as a fundraiser with Enable Ireland. And it's actually lovely to reconnect with you all these years later and to see how successful you have been. I remember a young Katie O'Brien coming in to Enable Ireland into the fundraising office, and we used to have great crack. Where did the drive come from to become this amazing sportswoman? And how has this just blossomed that you've become such a superb athlete and so determined and overcome so many obstacles to get where you are today?
Oh, well, thanks, Joanne. I was honestly so nearly shook when I saw you at that event, because I genuinely have such fond memories of being in your office and having crack in there, playing with all the gadgets you had in your desk. So it was lovely to reconnect, definitely. But I think the turning point really was when I was watching the Paralympics in 2012, and I kind of was just watching it and was like, Jesus, I'd love to do that. Like, I was watching my dad at the time, And the only sport I was into at the time really was kind of horse riding. I mean, I did a bit of camogie and that, but I was in goals, like I can't run that far. But I did a bit of camogie in school. But at the time anyway, I was big into horse riding. So we looked it up online, and there was this open day up in UCD, and I was 15 or 16 then. So we said we'd go up and have a look, and I went up to the horse riding stand, but it was only dressage. And as cool as that is, but I was kind of looking for more of a, an adrenaline buzz. So I went around to the other stalls, and then there was a rowing stall, and tried the rowing, was asked back, and then I suppose I have a competitive nature, I suppose I could say, and I ended up being kind of all right at it, and I liked that, so I just kept at it, and really now I'm just so deep into it that I'm just keeping going. So that's kind of how it all came about, really.
Casually throwing in there, I was kind of good at it and kind of competitive, and I liked the adrenaline side of it. Are you absolutely hooked on the sport of rowing?
I am. I definitely am. And like, it's definitely it's an addiction. Like anyone who rows will tell you, but I think most sports are really, it's an addiction, and it's the buzz you get. And it's that feeling of, giving it everything and working hard, and it's that slog, and it's like, it takes, and it's almost like the longer it takes to get there, the more rewarding it is. And it has been, I mean, I've been, like I said, I'm now 25, started when I was 15, 16. Now I had a break in between, but like, that's a long old road, and I've been aiming at the Paralympics since then, and I still haven't got there. So it is definitely been a slog, but hopefully now it amounts to something, because it's looking more and more likely now. So, and
getting to Paris has been a journey in itself, which we'll come back to, because I want to talk to you about participating in sport as a young girl, and a young girl with a disability. Was it difficult?
I suppose the disability could have been difficult, but I have to say I'm from a lovely village, and I'm from Clarinbridge, and like my classmates were unbelievable when I was younger. Like at the age of like 9 and 10, I would have been in goals, but it's not like I was last to be picked. I mean, I would have been one of the first few people to be picked on the team, or, I have no sad story like that. Or when I was in a wheelchair for a few years as well. And like, there's a few lads there, like from Clarinbridge, and we used to play this game where they'd be pushing me around the basketball court, and I used to get speeding tickets and stuff if I was going too fast. So there'd be one is the guard and one is pushing me, and we'd have such crack, but I mean, I could be telling you a sad story where I was sitting at the side of the thing, sitting in my wheelchair, but I wasn't. I was having great crack the whole time, and I was always involved in sport. So for me, my disability wasn't really that difficult. Like, I have to say, I think that I was lucky in the people I was surrounded by, that it wasn't an issue for them. It wasn't an issue for me. We kind of it was a very nonchalant, it was a non-event really, and we found ways around it. Like, the other thing we used to do was, my right leg is quite good. So when I was in my wheelchair, we used to just flip up the right pedal, and they parked me kind of in a good spot beside the goal. And every now and then I'd just get the ball would come to me, and I'd swing the leg up and fire the ball at the goal. I've always been involved in sport, and I like that people around me made it easy,
And that's interesting to hear as well, because you grew up in quite a sporting family. Evine and your brother Sean is very well known in rugby circles as well. And of course, your granny, Peggy Carty O'Brien, would have been very well known in Galway as well for everything that she did. And that was a lovely connection back to BPW Galway. You talk about the people surrounding you and supporting you. Who are the people now that are your go-to people for support in sport?
Well, I suppose there's definitely role models out there. Not that I go to them, but I look at, like Katie Taylor, Kelly Harrington, all of those are massive role models. But people then I go to in my own life, like you said, I have my brother there who's a big, inspiration in his sporting world, but even more so in just the type of person he is. My entire family are amazing. Like, they're really lovely, cool and helpful, loving people, and support me in whatever endeavour I go for. So, and again, like Clarinbridge, people are also behind me. Like, I have coaches behind me. I've my group of friends from primary school, from secondary school. People are so supportive in everything I've been doing, and are backing me the whole way. And you really feel that, and as the momentum picks up, like even when momentum wasn't there, they were still there. And, it's amazing really the support you get and where you can get it from as well. Like that. All aspects of my life I receive it from, and it's been brilliant. And teachers too through the years. And there's too many people to name really, but like the saying, it takes a village to rear a child, has never been more apt. Like, even in Galway Rowing Club there, like the people, people driving trailers or just people helping you out with the boat or the setting of the boat, and just mad little jobs that they all amount to where you get. So there's a lot of hands in this pie, shall we say.
I love it. Talk me through your journey. Tell us a little bit about Katie O'Brien, the student in college, the athlete on the water, and now that journey towards Paris.
I suppose it starts back when I was 16, and then I was in school still at the time, and I wasn't doing it massively competitively. I was only training 2 or 3 times a week, and even at that, I was going to training, but it wasn't like I am now, where I'm, gunning for it. So that was kind of 15, 16. And then when I suppose I picked up a little bit then at 16, and I went to Henley and the home internationals. And then, so I rode up until about the age of 18. And then when I got to 18, there was a guy kind of training with me, again, going back to singles and doubles. So there was a guy kind of training with me when I was 15, 16 in the double. And then he kind of gave up the rowing. So I was back in my single. So when I got to the age of 18, I still couldn't go to the Paralympics, and I'd kind of done all the competitions that were available, because there was no class for the single in either the World Cups or the World Championships or the Paralympics. So there was nowhere really else for me to race. So I was also heading into first year college, which training doesn't really go hand in hand when you want to be having a bit of crack. So I kind of decided I'd pack it in as well. So I left the rowing then when I was 18. And I kind of just had great old crack for first and second year college. I went to college in UCD. So when I got to third year then in college, things got a little bit more serious in terms of trying to do a bit of work. Things kind of pick up in third year in veterinary. So I was kind of trying to do a bit more study. So, sport and training kind of goes well with that sometimes, just to have a break from it. So got back into the training in kind of third year college. So again, I was probably like 2021. And then the next year I went to the World Championships then in Linz in Austria. So that was a lovely kind of intro back into it, because the main reason I got back into it was they brought an event to the World Championships and to the World Cup. So an old coach kind of gave me a call and said, look, there's a chance there now for you. I know it's not the Paralympics, but it's the World Champs and it's the World Cup. So is there any chance you get back into it? And I was actually only recently back from a summer in America, and I'd put on a good 10 kilos. So I was fairly happy to accept a bit of exercise. So that's kind of how that happened. And so then a year later, I went to the Worlds. And really from that point on, I knew that success was it was in my reach, and I've just been gunning for it since, really. So that's kind of the whole of it.
We have seen a campaign over the past couple of years since then to try and find you a partner for the doubles for the Paralympics. Talk to me about the man that you have found to be in the boat with you.
So the man I found is Stephen McGowan. He's a Roscommon man, and he's as determined as I am, which is brilliant. So he had a car crash about 4 years ago. He was the only one in the car crash, but he had a kind of an incomplete fracture of the spine. So he's got kind of he's paralyzed from kind of the hips down, but he's and he's a wheelchair user, but he's, like I said, as determined as I am, and he's great crack. It's lovely to finally be training with somebody else as well, and lovely, like I said, to finally be in a double and actually be looking like we have a shot at trying to qualify. So that's Stephen.
Now, not only trying to qualify, but you really do want to get a medal at the Paralympics. And I think somebody told me that you told Stephen the very day you met him that he had to produce a medal in Paris, and you haven't frightened him off yet.
Yeah, that is true. We went for lunch with Mr. Waffle the very first day. Well, I mean, we'd met in Cork at the open day, but I asked him to come down to Galway then to try out to put him into the single and see how he got on. We went for lunch with Mr. Waffle, and I definitely did tell him that day that was my plan. So if once he didn't run, then I kind of knew he'd stick around, and he just, like, excuse the pun, but he took to it like a fish to water. So he's been flying it since, and he's just coming on all the time. I mean, he's only rowing a year now, and he's rowing for Ireland at the World Cup. So it just shows you, like, you know, what he's done in a year and where we can be in 2 more years' time by the time you come around to the Paralympics.
And what's the dynamic like between the two of you in terms of motivating each other? And I suppose, you know, when you're having a bad day or he's having a bad day, keeping each other in good form and focused.
Yeah, the rowing machine is an erg session. So doing an erg session by yourself is miserable. Like, but if there's someone there beside you going through the very same pain, I mean, you do cycling, John. So sure you know that feeling of just slogging it by yourself. But if there's someone there feeling that burn beside you, that just for some reason it's easier. So that's been brilliant. And like that, he wants to do as well as I do, and we both have the same goals in mind, and we have a very similar attitude towards life too. So like, you'd be surprised the amount of time we've spent together over the last year. I'd say more than anyone else. So thank God we do get on, or it would be a disaster.
And what does a typical training day look like for you? You mentioned at the start of the chat that you're down in Cork at the National Training Centre, and you're pretty much moving down there now for the summer. So what does a typical day look like for you at the moment? And I know you're literally just off the water and heading back out onto the water again this afternoon.
Yeah, so a typical day usually would have 2 sessions. Now today it's kind of almost 3, because the first session's on the water, and then the second session will be like a water plus gym. So it'll be kind of 2 stuck together. So you'll be doing weights straight after. Typically, yeah, I mean, we arrive usually around 8:15. You're on the water for maybe 9:15, and then you'll be on the water for maybe 2 hours. And then like that, get off the water, shower, eat, relax for an hour, and then you're back out either on the water or on the rowing machine or the gym. So there's usually 2 sessions a day, and depending on what the session is, you know, whether it's a speed session, it might be shorter, or if it's one of those kind of longer T2 sessions, you know, it's just kind of more, you'd be longer out in the water, but less intense. But yeah, so it's 2 sessions really most days, and then either a rest day or a half day then during the week.
So you're training 6-7 days a week, double sessions. How do you fuel your performance every day?
I have absolutely no bother with eating. Like, I will eat till the cows come home. So that's never an issue for me. I know some athletes need to take oat gain and things, like, you know, the big calorie kind of surplus, it was no bother. Like, I'd shovel food in, no bother. So protein shakes, you know, to keep the protein high. But yeah, just eating loads. I've no strict diet really. I mean, I suppose I'd be healthy enough eater. Like, I'm not eating Supermax every day, but and don't get me wrong, I love Supermax and I'd eat it the odd time, but I'm not eating it every day. But really just getting in a lot of good food is the key thing. And quite soon, like after my session, you know, you have to be on top of it, like getting it in quite quick so you're recovered and ready for the next one. And you know, that's definitely a key factor.
And what about sleep? Do you take little naps in the middle of the day, or what would your sleep be like at night?
I wish I could nap. I wish I could, but I can't. I need to get better at that. But I do lie down, like, and I know a lot of people would sleep during the day, but I've some issue. I just can't nap, like. But I'm a good sleeper at nighttime. I'd go to bed maybe about 10 o'clock, be asleep by 10:30, and then up at, you know, whatever it is, like 6:30, 7, depending on what time we're on the water. So I get my 8 hours, and I sleep quite heavily for the 8. But yeah, no, I'm not much of a napper now, I have to say.
And what about on the day off? What do you do when you're not on the water? What do you do to go have fun, other than going to Mr. Waffle and having Supermax?
Yeah. Probably eating too. I'd probably go somewhere for food, but meeting friends or just chill. Sometimes you just want to lie on the couch and do nothing. But yeah, meeting friends, or if I know I have a rest day and there's no competition coming up, I definitely go out for a few drinks too. So that's important as well. But yeah, so just relaxing and trying to do something other than rowing, I suppose.
When you look at how that day in UCD potentially changed your life and all the work you've put in over the past number of years, it's incredible to think about where young Katie O'Brien, who used to come into my office in Enable Ireland as a young kid, is now, and what you've achieved. And we're talking about you going to the Paralympics. You did really, really well at the World Cup. You also were first and won a gold medal for Ireland in the Henley Royal Regatta in the singles. That was the first medal for Ireland in quite a while as well, wasn't it?
I think so. I can't quite remember now. It was so long ago, like it was nearly 10 years ago. But yeah, so I went to Henley and raced a single there. It was kind of it was a big learning curve for me too, because it was one of my first proper races, because there's very few para rowers in Ireland. So it was kind of, when I went to England, they have a little bit, it's kind of a bit more prevalent over there, I suppose. So it was my first time really racing other people in my category. So it was an unreal experience, and it's kind of a funny course there. So it's just side by side racing, and the boys are like wood. So if you hit them, you're in bother. Like, it was cool. It was very cool, I have to say. And sure, it was lovely to come home with the medal too. Yeah. Some of my best moments over the last few years really have been involved with sport. And I suppose, you know, the times where you do well at competition, there's usually in my case, I'm quite lucky, I suppose. There is usually like family or friends there to support me. And so when you do come home with a medal or that, you know, it's awful exciting having your family and friends there to be celebrating with. So, I mean, it's been brilliant. Yeah.
Are you proud of what you've achieved?
Yeah, I am, I suppose. And like more so in recent times, looking back rather than at the time. I think looking back over, you don't like I was so young when I was doing it that I didn't really, you know, realize it. And I suppose in recent times too, that now that I'm able to actually race, you know, internationally and compare myself to other people over the world and see how I do compared to them. Finally, it kind of gives you a sense of like, yeah, okay, I am actually good at this, rather than, because in Ireland, you know, there's no one really to race, so you don't know until you go abroad and get to race people, and then you kind of see where you're at. And
you were third at the World Champs in Austria in 2019, but you set a 2K world record in 2021. Talk to me about that. Yeah, so I suppose with lockdown, I was kind of stuck a lot on the rowing machine, and you know, so in 2019 I raced the World Championships in Linz in Austria, and I like you said, I got the bronze medal. So after that, I kind of had built up momentum, and I was kind of getting really excited to build on that and try and race it again the next year. So when 2020 came around, the World Championships were cancelled, and then when 2021 came around, the World Championships were cancelled. But I'd been kind of slogging away, you know, at home on the rowing machine and building up speed and building up power. So the erg is the rowing machine, and I mean, I knew I was getting close to the world record, but I wasn't sure if I was there. So my coach just said to me, sure, give it a go and see how you get on. So I went on to the rowing machine anyway, and I wasn't really sure whether I'd do it or not. And so I suppose it was good in some ways that I hadn't put pressure on myself. I was kind of just seeing where I'd be. So yeah, I gave it a go anyway. That was kind of last October, and I just pipped the world record by a few milliseconds. So what is the record, Katie? I think it's 8:02 could be 0.3. I'd have to double check it, but it's 8:02 point something anyway. So coming back to say 2020 and Tokyo 2020, you did try to get to the Paralympics in Tokyo, didn't you? But decided that you just didn't have enough time with Stephen to pull it off. Yeah, so Stephen kind of came on the scene maybe last January, and the qualifiers were in May. So, I mean, he was only rowing 12 weeks and we had like a month to go. And like, I mean, asking someone to be up to that standards is just really impossible. Not that we even gave it a go, but we didn't have enough time, and we weren't up to, like, Stephen was still learning how to row, never mind to be as fast as we needed to be to qualify for a Paralympics. So we just said, look, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll focus now on Paris 2024. And that was kind of that. By the time Stephen kind of came on the scene, it was only months away. So there was no real shot at it. And it was also 2021 when you think about it, it was also 2021 at the time. So I'd kind of already parked it, and then because they were moved forward a year, I mean, there was just a glimpse of hope, but it was a bit far-fetched to think that somebody who'd never rowed before would be able to get up to that standard. But a year later, and he's flying it, so hopefully now it's looking a bit more positive for the next one. Do the boats differ in para rowing versus other types of rowing? Yeah, they actually do. So they're a little bit wider and a little bit heavier, and I think they're just wider, so they're a little bit more balanced, because most of the time, people say in our classification, we wouldn't have as good a stability, whether it's through the core or whether it's through your legs. Sometimes the stability of the boat wouldn't be as good as it would with an able-bodied rower. So I think by widening the boats, it allows them to be a bit more stable. And also the para rowers. So going back to the classification, so there's PR1, PR2, PR3. So the PR1 rowers, who are the ones who just use their arms, they actually have like flotation devices either side of the boat as well, just in case they tip it, because again, they'd have even less stability than the PR2 rowers. So there is little modifications on the boats for the para rowers. When you look back at your sporting career to date, what are you most proud of? I would say my medal at the World Championships in 2019, because again, it was kind of my first time really on the international scene and by myself, and I kind of really didn't know whether I was up to that standard yet. And I think it wasn't even the medal, but it was more that I was racing alongside people who I'd been watching in videos for years, and all of a sudden I find myself 1,000 meters down the course and I can still see them, and they're not gone way off ahead of me, and I'm actually beside them. Like, that's what I was thinking rather than thinking about rowing. I was like, oh my God, that this one is right beside me. Joe, I was kind of starstruck down the course. So that's kind of for me why it was a big achievement, not really the medal, but just
like that people you're watching videos of and you're racing them. It's mad. Like,
do you get starstruck when you meet some of the rowers who've been on the scene for a long time?
I definitely did that at the World Championships there in 2019. I was, every time I'd see someone, I'd be like, oh my God, that's them. But now they've kind of become friends. Like, it's an amazing community to be part of. Like, everybody just wants everyone to do well, and there's no real like, oh, like up at the start line and kind of giving each other daggers or anything like that. It's very much high fives and like, oh, well done. And it's a really cool community to be part of, and everyone tries to help everyone. So like the people who I was watching videos of, I'm now talking to, you know, so it's kind of come around full circle. But yeah, I was 100% starstruck when I started first.
And there's going to be plenty of young girls who are going to be looking up to Katie O'Brien as the years progress, saying, oh my God, I'm on the start line beside Katie O'Brien. Katie, staying in sport while you were in school, was that difficult? We hear an awful lot about trying to keep teenage girls in sport, trying to keep girls in their 20s in sport. But talk to me about some of the obstacles you would have seen for trying to keep girls in sport while you were a teenager, or were there any?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to like where I'm from and stuff, it was I suppose camogie would have been the big one in Clarinbridge, and a lot of girls would have stuck at it. Now a lot didn't, and it kind of just depended on the girl, really. I think a lot of it comes down to kind of, you know, your interests change, and I don't know really why girls give it up. I think does it become something that's not very seen as very feminine, and they want to be you know, is it that, or is it, I don't know what it is, but I think it's very individual, really, and it's down to the like, because so many people stay at it the whole way through. Some people leave and come back to it. And there was plenty of girls who were brilliant and like could have made it to like national teams and all of that in school that didn't keep it up. But then again, there was girls who were unreal, played county and still playing county. So it's very individual. But I think a lot of it came down to personal choice. And there was, in terms of obstacles, like there was opportunities there for girls. It's just whether they wanted to take them or not themselves. And like that, I've never had any issues in terms of being a girl and being involved with sport. Like, I would have played soccer with the lads at lunch, and there was absolutely no bother, like I was saying. So
I'd say you'd have given them a run for their money, Katie.
I don't know about that, but maybe as well it's down to where you're, like, you know, location, and whether, you know, because I suppose there's definitely young lads who would have a problem with that, but people are the people from my school anyway, and the Clarinbridge, and that they had no bother with involving the girls, and they were all very sound.
And I think it comes back as well to what you said at the start about surrounding yourself with great people who kept you motivated, kept you included, and kept that opportunity available for you, rather than anything being an obstacle. Everything was an opportunity. From a personal level, where does the drive and the passion come from to be the best in the world at para rowing?
I'm not 100% sure. It's a very difficult question. And like that, I was asked it at the BPW as well, and I've been asked it before. But I think when I like kind of reflect on my life and, you know, what's gone on in it over the years, I've had ups and downs, and there's been challenges in my life the whole way through, really, I suppose. And I've always I had no choice but to overcome them, maybe. And I suppose that now it's just become maybe a personality trait, really, that I'm constantly driving and trying to push on and see what else I can do and get over things. And I absolutely love a challenge and a slog, and I love a bit of hard work. So maybe it's just become something I've learned, and it's now part of me. So I think that's probably the answer. Yeah.
And I think your mum and dad were very, very strong parents as well with you. I know your dad passed away in 2012, I think, wasn't it? Around that time, you were very young for your dad to pass away. But, you know, you had such a supportive family that they never let your disability get in your way, if you know what I mean. You were given the opportunity to be the same as everybody else and to do the same as everybody else. By the age of 10, had you something like 20 operations to try and get your mobility up to where it could be as best it could be?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was by 10, but definitely, I mean, I've definitely had over 20 surgeries now at this stage. And like that, yeah, my mom and dad, my disability, like, to be honest with you, I don't think it really dawned on me till I was about 14. that I actually had a disability. I don't know, I didn't really think about it. Like, it was just kind of one of those things that I went in and out of the hospital now and then, and sure, yeah, I wore a splint, but then I was like, oh my God, I actually have a disability, you know, kind of one of those moments. Like, but yeah, and I suppose that's a testament to my parents that it wasn't really a thing. And like I said it at the BPW as well, you know, I had to do the very same jobs my brother and sister had to do. And if they were horse riding, I was horse riding. And, you know, we found ways around things. Like, you know, I had a little martingale that I hung on to because, again, my balance wasn't 100%. And I was just hanging on for dear life, but I was doing it. And, you know, there was never a problem. We always found a way around things. And like that, my mom and my dad were unreal like that. It wasn't really like that. It was just a non-event. It wasn't really an issue, and it wasn't a thing that we, you know, spent time thinking about. It just was get on and get over it, and that was it.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, your personality is really shining through there, of like a can do, will do attitude. And I don't know if you realize this, but I have a sister who has cerebral palsy. She sees me doing triathlon, and she wants to do stuff like I was doing. So during lockdown, we got her swimming in the sea. Mild cerebral palsy. Her epilepsy is probably a little bit more debilitating. But again, like that, you have a soft bubble wrap around her to mind her, even though she's in her 40s. You have a soft bubble wrap around her to mind her, but yet you want to see her in the water swimming. We got her a spinning bike at Christmas. She's off doing her own walking challenges. And it's almost like creating the adaptations to enable her to be able to do the exact same thing that I do. So I'm sure your parents did the exact same thing that Sean and Aoibhinn were doing, that you were thrown in at the deep end, maybe with a bit more bubble wrap around you, but still the opportunity was put in front of you to excel at everything you could do.
100%. That's 100%. Like it's almost, and it was almost like a see-through bubble wrap too. Like, I didn't really see it, so they did it very well. And like that, I'm sure maybe your sister doesn't see the bubble wrap. You know, she's just been let into the sea, and like, so it's a great way to do it. And it's just, I suppose, the people around you can make or break you, and it's a testament to you and a testament to my parents of, you know, enabling us to be like just like everybody else.
And sport is a great way to bring people together as well, isn't it? You can adapt things so that everybody can do things, no matter whether you're an able-bodied person who maybe isn't able to do something, or you're somebody with a disability who has a bigger barrier to entry to participating in sport. But providing the opportunity is the most important thing for people.
110%. Like, it's the opportunity and allowing people to feel like they're on an even playing field. And I mean, I love getting into my boat, because like, it's so freeing, and I'd be going up the river there and I'll take anyone on. I don't care what age they are. They could be 10 or they could be 90. I'll take them on, like, up the river. And you know, it's so freeing, because you know, there's times where you'll be, you know, not that it was ever a problem for me, but obviously I wasn't very fast, and I wasn't very, you know, when I did try and do sports, and I was stuck to goals because obviously it couldn't be running up and down the field. But like, and getting people involved in sport or whatever they can do with the right adaptation and making them, you know, like, I feel 100% capable of doing everything that anyone else can do. So it's giving people that opportunity is the key, I suppose.
If I was to ask you, aside from Paris, aside from that big goal, what other piece of the elephant are you looking to take a chunk out of in rowing and in sport and in life for the future?
You never know. I could still be around for 2028. That's out there. That's up in the ether. The other thing then is my veterinary. I kind of need to do something about that too, because I've pressed pause on that. So I definitely, like, I mean, being a vet was always my dream, and I went and I did that, and so now I worked as a vet for a year, but I have a lot more to learn, and I would love to kind of feel like I could get accomplished in that kind of field as well. So definitely I want to go down that road and be a vet for a while. And then outside of that, I don't really know. I definitely feel like I'm not going to just be a vet and just go to the Paralympics. I'm one of those people, I'll find something else to do. I definitely will, but I just haven't put my finger on it yet, Joanne.
I have to laugh at you the way you say just be a vet and just be a Paralympian. I mean, they're massive achievements in themselves. But speaking about the Paralympics, how do you go about qualifying for Paris 2024?
So the qualifications for the Paralympics or the Olympics are at the World Championships the year prior to the Olympics or Paralympics. So for us, it'll be 2023, and it'll be it's usually August or September. You have to come in the top 8 boats to qualify, and then there's also a second chance. So it's called the Last Chance Regatta, and it's like 3 or 4 months before the Paralympics, and there's 2 more spots at that. Obviously, not ideal to be leaving it that late and a bit stressful. So the ideal thing would be that we'd go in 2023 and come in the top 8 boats. So we're hoping like this will be our first World Championships this year if we get to go, and all going well, we'll go, and we'll hopefully, you know, if we could make even the B final, we'd be delighted. Like I said, Stephen's only rowing a year, so to be getting to the World Championships and to be up there with, you know, in the top like 12 boats would be amazing. And then hopefully by the time we get to 2023, we'll be within the top 8.
Is it stressful to be worrying about all that qualification process as well, whilst you're trying to increase your ability and performance on the water?
Not really. I think I approach it in the way I approach racing. I don't really think about that. I'm just thinking about the task at hand, and the task at hand is going and, you know, warming up, and then it's going out and doing your, you know, your pieces, and then, you know, you just take it day by day and hour by hour. And I do the same thing with racing. I never really think about the big race. I think about the warm up before the race, or, you know, I think about what I'm going to eat and all of that. So just taking it hour by hour and not thinking about the mountain, and just taking it step by step. Yeah.
So what's next, Katie, other than spending the summer down in Cork?
The big thing really this year is the World Champs, to see where we're at, because the World Cups, not every crew will enter. So the World Champs is kind of where you see what everybody else has been up to all year too, because, you know, there could be people working away there and you haven't a clue what they're at. So it'll be nice to kind of draw a line under it, see where we're at, park it there, and then build for another year. Because, you know, the World Championships is in September, so that's only like 3 or 4 months away. And after that, we will literally only have 12 months to get ready to qualify. So it's a very short time coming around, and it will fly. So yeah, an exciting few months ahead, really.
And if I was to ask you, who has been the biggest inspiration in your life to date?
My dad. My dad is my best friend and will always be, and he's unreal. So yeah.
Has it been difficult over the years not to have him around?
Oh yeah, like I definitely looking back struggled without him for the first few years, and at the time I didn't he was only 16, so I didn't really realize what I was going through or anything like that. But Dad was an unbelievable person. He supported all of us through our whole lives, and yeah, like definitely the person I am today because of him. And I have to say, my whole family is the people we are because of him. And he was the glue that kept us together, but he left enough glue that we're still stuck together. So yeah, I have to say I was so lucky to have him for as long as I did. And yeah, miss him and love him so much. Yeah.
That is just so fabulous. And I think I'm going to finish it there, because you're going to have both of us crying thinking about our fabulous daddies. So Katie O'Brien, congratulations on all you have achieved in such a short space of time. It's incredible to have watched your progress over the years, and I wish you every success with qualification, with the World Championships, the World Cups, and I cannot wait to see you on the start line in Paris, and hopefully on a podium at the Paralympics in 2024.
Thanks a million, Joanne, and enjoyed the chat, and thank you very much again.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. You can follow all of our activities and podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. Pop by, say hi, let me know what you think of the show. And if you are new to Try Talking Sport, please do check out some of our previous episodes. You will be impressed and inspired by our guests. Finally, be sure to sign up to our new e-zine featuring articles of interest, some great discounts and the inside track on supporting your triathlon and endurance sport journey, wherever it may take you. Sign up on www.trytalkingsport.com. It takes 30 seconds and I promise I won't bombard your inbox with emails, just the important stuff. Until next time, stay safe, keep smiling, and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.